good evening. Welcome to Tinfoil Tuesday. My name is Joanna. I'm a colon hydrotherapist at the Root Chakra inside Southgate Holistic Spa. I am also a gut health expert and a certified natural health specialist. And today I'm going to talk to you about coffee, the truth about coffee. I know I have a lot of coffee lovers out there, so I might get some haters from this video, but I'm not here to judge you. I just want to give you some information and maybe make some recommendations, and you can make your own decision as far as what would be best for you. And if you want to continue drinking coffee or caffeine specifically, we're going to talk about caffeine, and or if you want to eliminate it. So here we go. So caffeine, let me start with caffeine. Caffeine is an alkaloid, and that means that it actually has an effect on humans, and so it's going to affect your nervous system, among other things. It has a physiological response on the body. You know, a lot of people will say food is medicine. Caffeine is very much a drug. It's the most addictive drug in the world, and it is also the most abused. So let me start with telling you that caffeine is also a pesticide. It's actually the plant's defense mechanism, and it's used so that when the bugs eat it, they'll die. So I have a lot of studies here that I'm going to go over with you, and pardon that I'm not going to be staring at the screen all the time because I have a lot of notes. So there were MRI images taken in one study that before and after 1 cup of coffee, just 1 cup, and it showed that it decreased the blood flow to the brain by 45%. This is from MRI images. When they actually measured the blood flow, it was actually a 52% increase. So that means you're losing over half of your blood flow to your brain just after 1 cup of coffee, which is kind of scary, okay? Brain imaging of chronic coffee drinkers, so people who are drinking coffee every single day, it showed that it's created the same degradation to your brain, the same as chronic alcoholics, cigarette smokers, patients with Parkinson's, and marijuana users as well. So it does have huge detrimental effects to your brain. And then we all know that coffee makes you poo, but do you know why? So coffee is viewed as a toxin to the body. It's a poison, and it wants to get it out as soon as possible. Some of you may have a similar experience after a night drinking. Maybe in the next morning you're going to the bathroom really well. Similar effect. Your body's just trying to get rid of that poison as quickly as it can, which is why it does stimulate that peristalsis action, but similar to like food poisoning, right? You're eating something that your body's like, nope, I want this out. It's either going to go out one way or the other. And so coffee has that effect. It induces the peristalsis, the contraction of the colon, and it's going to make you go poo because your body doesn't want it. And how do you get energy from coffee? How does it give you energy? So caffeine stimulates the fight or flight response in the body. It kind of gets your adrenaline going, and you're like super agitated and like on edge. What happens when you're in fight or flight mode is that because your body is going into overdrive, it's an immediate stress response. And when you have that kind of a stress response, that fight or flight response, it actually is a threat to the system, and when the system is threatened, it's going to induce fat storage, and you will gain weight. You will put on fat from drinking caffeine. So yeah, it's going to get you all hyped up, but at the end, this is why coffee creates fat cells and creates cellulite. You want to get rid of your cellulite, eliminate all these poisons from your life, but because it needs that energy to go into fight or flight mode consistently. So I bet you've never heard anybody tell you that coffee makes you fat, have you? I'm sure you've heard quite the opposite, but it does. It induces fat gain, weight gain, and cellulite. So let's see here. Oh, and also, not to mention, the fight or flight response lowers your IQ level, And that it's part of the limbic part of your brain, which is in control of like aggression, violence, irrational logical decision making. It induces jealousy, rage, anger, fear, paranoia. And do any of these sound familiar when you're withdrawing from coffee? I'm sure we've all experienced coffee withdrawals, and that's not fun either. Also, one study showed that when measured, a single cup of coffee was still, it activated that fight or flight response for 3 weeks. So 1 cup of coffee for the next 3 weeks, you're going to like have that fight or flight response going, which is why I would recommend just avoiding caffeine altogether. It's a stimulant. It's an alkaloid, like I said. Alkaloids, just to kind of give you an idea of what an alkaloid is. Morphine is an alkaloid. Nicotine is an alkaloid, so affects the body, the brain. It is, let's see, not to mention a lot of studies, well, it's also been proven in many, many studies that caffeine, well, let's say coffee, enlarges your prostate. It produces high anxiety, insomnia, depression, birth defects, pain syndromes. It does cause inflammation in the body. So if you have arthritis or if you have chronic pain, I would not drink caffeine whatsoever. Unnatural breathing patterns. What happens when you have too much coffee? Oh my God, you go crazy. So brain damage, we went over that. Hyperactivity, learning disorders from the brain damage, behavior disorders, fatigue, certain types of cancer have been proven. Crohn's, IBS, colitis, carpal tunnel ulcers, low iron, heart disease, heartaches, PMS, joint pain, which I just mentioned, heart attacks, strokes, and the list goes on and on and on. So if you're not convinced yet as to why you should quit coffee, there was a meta-analysis done by a man who wrote one of the most dense books on coffee that I've ever come across. And in his investigation, he's probably reviewed like every piece of scientific research out there on coffee. And his conclusion was that there's absolutely no scientific evidence whatsoever that coffee provides any health benefits to the human body on any level in any way. And any study that did show that coffee did have any kind of positive effects on the body were funded by, guess who? Big Coffee. And who's Big Coffee? Starbucks is the main company that runs Big Coffee, among some other coffee chains. But I would not trust any coffee study funded by Starbucks or anybody involved in the coffee industry. It just doesn't make sense. It's a huge conflict of interest. So always look at who's funding the research, who wanted the research done, so that you'll have a better idea as to why they're showing certain results. I always tell people, don't just look at the conclusion. Don't just look at what they've come up with or out of the study. Look at the numbers. Look at what controls were done. Look at who funded the study. All these things are going to you'll be able to know how legitimate that study truly is. I would not trust any study funded by Starbucks on coffee. Speaking of Starbucks, they were actually recently sued to remove acrylamide from its processing. And acrylamide is a known carcinogen in coffee. It was present in potato chips as well, and they eliminated it. The coffee industry was really fighting back against it, claiming that the levels were so minute that it really wouldn't affect the body. We know better than that. And they also argued that, if we get rid of the acrylamide, that it will affect the taste of the coffee. I don't know about you, but potato chips still taste like potato chips. So I would think that removing acrylamide from the coffee won't necessarily change the taste. And if it does, why not try it anyway? Let's see what the consumers have to say instead of you deciding for us. And just to kind of also give you a brief list of all of the other things that have caffeine in them. And so a lot of these, I guess, effects of coffee, caffeine will have a very similar effect. So that includes teas, chocolate, energy drinks, pre-workouts, and there's thousands of over-the-counter medications as well that have caffeine in them that were purposely added in there. So be careful. I'm not telling you not to drink tea or not to drink coffee or not to drink chocolate, but be aware of the effects that it does have on your body. Definitely limit it. Don't make it a daily thing, because that's when really big problems arise. It is very taxing on your adrenals. A lot of people will end up with adrenal fatigue and not know why, and it's because they're drinking coffee all day, every day, and they're go, 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 go. What do you think is going to happen to your adrenal system? Let's see here. So a lot of you are wondering, I'm sure, why all these lies about coffee. And that's probably a very political question that I can talk to you more about in my Tinfoil After Show group, because that's where we really get crazy. But long story short, you know, with everything that I've told you as far as the effects that coffee has on the body, why do you think that it's being promoted? And why do you think all of these industries would want us agitated and on the edge of our seats, and would want us aggressive and violent and irrational? And why do you think they would want us to have logical decision making? And do you think this is part of any bigger plan? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. You let me know what your thoughts are. But that's really all there is to it. If you are a coffee drinker and you want to quit, start slowly, wean yourself off. You can go cold turkey, absolutely, and you might not have very pleasant side effects. You could wean off and like replace the caffeine with tea. If you really like that coffee taste, there are some like mushroom drinks out there, and there are some herbal drinks out there that have that like coffee-ish taste, that robust taste that people just need. And if you can't give up your coffee because you need your caffeine to wake up in the morning, I know a lot of people are like, I can't function until I've had my cup of coffee. There's like mugs that make fun of this, like, don't talk to me until I've had my cup of coffee. I would not be surprised if a lot of you watching are those people. Again, I'm not judging, but think about the fact that you're dependent on a substance to have energy. And what does that mean about you and your health and your body? And do you truly want to be dependent on this to wake up in the morning and to make it through your day? I know I have a lot of clients who have coffee first thing in the morning, and then we'll have 2 or 3 more cups throughout the day, if not more. So, I mean, that's just a question you have to ask yourself. Do you want to continue this and living like this, and, you know, basing your energy on this substance that is draining your true energy at the end of the day? Or do you want to have real energy from food that is sustained throughout the day, and you're not crashing within a few hours? You're not going to have any kind of like withdrawal effects, headaches, etc. So if you have any more questions about coffee, I'd be happy to go over these with you. Happy to answer any questions. I also started a new group, the Gut Health Made Easy. So now we have 2 groups. We have the Tinfoil After Show where we will talk about crazier things as far as like, maybe why do we think that coffee is so prevalent? Why is there no movie out there where there's no, there aren't any scenes where people are, there's no movie out there where you won't find somebody drinking coffee. And you might think that's not important, but it's very significant as far as what we see and the behaviors that we see and that we're told are normal in everyday to day life. Oh, Joanna. She says, don't tell me bad things. I told you all the bad things. You're going to have to go back and watch this video from the beginnings, and you will probably cry yourself to sleep tonight. Yeah, so similar to how cigarettes were present in movies to get people to smoke, coffee is really, really big. And yeah, so there's a lot of like subliminal messaging in there as far as that goes. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I quit coffee a long, long time ago, and now when I do drink coffee, I get headaches. And I know for a lot of you coffee drinkers, it's the absolute opposite. When you don't drink coffee, you'll get headaches. So my tip to you would be push through it. Drink plenty of water. If you need your caffeine temporarily, find some other healthier sources of caffeine. Switch over to the teas. The teas aren't as acidic. That Milky Way thing by my spa, no, you can't get away with that. So Joanna's asking about a mixed coffee drink. Water is so fun. Any mixed coffee drink, anything with espresso, anything with coffee, anything that has caffeine in it will have those effects. Even the decaf coffee still has alkaloids in it. It still will affect your body in the same way. And then not only that, I always tell people, if it's going to be between the calf and the decaf, go for the calf, because the processing that it goes through to become decaf is worse for you than the real stuff. And that applies with almost everything. The real stuff is almost always better than the fake stuff. So if you think of like your fake meats versus your real meats, your fake cheeses versus your real cheeses, your etc., the real stuff is almost always better than the fake stuff, but the real stuff is also usually not optimal. So remove it, reduce it. And I hope that I've maybe changed your perspective on coffee tonight. So Joanna's saying that she feels like that chick that's always looking for the bathroom when she carries a water bottle and a badass with a coffee cup in her hand. Coffee might make you feel like a badass. That's probably that fight or flight response that I was talking about earlier. And when you're in fight or flight, if you go into fight mode, you might feel like a badass, right? So that's where that that comes from. And Grace says, why can't I just let you guys enjoy yummy things in ignorance? Because as much as I love my yummy things as well, trust me, I was a coffee drinker for a very long time. And not to say I still don't have, a little bit of coffee here and there, like once in a blue moon, once every like 2 or 3 months, I'll have a little bit of coffee. But I would rather you be informed and you know the truth, and then you can make the best decision for you. And it's an educated, informed decision instead of living in ignorance. I know I've lost so many friends over my my truths. I'm like, hey, did you know that this causes that? And they're like, I can't be friends with you anymore. You just ruin everything for me. So I'm not trying to ruin everything for you. I just want you to live a happier, healthier, more energized life, and having true energy from real food that isn't coffee, that's not a stimulant, so that you're not dependent on a substance, to me is true happiness and true energy. So I've had quite a few people join right now. So catch the replay. I talked a lot about a lot of studies. There's a lot of interesting info in there. In the past I've said, yeah, there's studies that show good and bad effects of caffeine, but honestly, the more I've looked into it, the conclusion is there's absolutely no benefit. And all of the studies that show that there is a benefit have been funded by Big Coffee, aka Starbucks and Co. So I know. Throw your tantrums and then throw that coffee out while you're at it, while you're throwing those tantrums. You can like smash coffee beans throughout your place. But anyway, happy Tuesday. If you have any anything that you want me to cover during these next Tinfoil Tuesdays, let me know. Drop them in the comments. I'd love to you know, cover some things that you guys might be curious about. My Gut Health Made Easy group is live, so is the Tinfoil After Show. And again, Gut Health Made Easy is if you want gut health advice. Tinfoil After Show is if you want to discuss these crazy things further, and that's where we get really nuts. So have a great evening, you guys. Bye-bye.